Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Drunken Tarrasque.
Or the alehouse Drake has had enough of your shit.
Yes. Today we're going to talk about how to build your first party. Now, yeah, we're kind of skipping around, but we do feel that beyond any shadow of a doubt that when you play these games, you gotta play with a party of people. And thinking
Mm-hmm.
on how you build it is kind of a very important thing. And
Yeah, you want to try to go for a balanced party, and it's kind of a weird concept. Like, what exactly defines a balanced party? Perhaps you could give your ideas of what you think, and I'll give my ideas of what I think. I
well,
think,
yeah, it's when it comes down to a balanced party, there's a couple fields of thought. One of them that I think is a easy, quick staple for any party is essentially you'll have a healer, it's a person that heals, very self-explanatory. You'll have your tank, which usually is a person who will take the damage, and you'll have then someone else in your party who does the damage. In MMO terms, it's called DPS, damage per second,
yeah,
and
they are the blasty doom people.
yeah, those are the
They're the
blasty or
blasty.
stabby guys, and those
Yeah.
people as a whole, if you are looking at simplified mechanics, if you have roughly those 3 or 4 people, you're going to have a balanced group. But since
And
this
if you
is
don't,
yeah, if you don't, it doesn't mean the end of your party, but it just means you're going to have to use your brains even more
yeah,
and really be more planning.
you're gonna have to work really, really hard to keep everything above your head above water because it's just
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get murdered out there. Otherwise, I mean, always build with your group with the idea in mind. If we don't do stuff, we're gonna get murdered out there.
Yeah, because
Like
there are
even if you have a nice DM, even if you know that they're not gonna kill you unless you deserve it,
yeah
go in with the mindset we're gonna get murdered out
yeah,
there.
treat the world like it's a hostile place. And when you start building, there's a reason why we say a balanced party. It's not necessarily needed, but especially in fifth edition. But when you have that, you kind of have all your bases covered. You have an expert in each field to deal with the situation, and that can be a really fun, enjoyable game. Though when it comes down to that, you don't always have a balanced team. Another reason why I hate Adventurers League. You can actually have a really horribly designed party going into these engagements. And that's where you're going to have to start thinking on how you're going to work your party a lot more.
It
Or
also depends.
companion. Oh,
It
sorry.
also, no, what I was saying, just say is, it also depends on whether or not your DM is building specifically for your group or has already has something like they've pre-created, regardless of what you are or what you've chosen.
Yep, that's one of the other reasons why a balanced party is very good because I've dealt with a DM who I'm building it this way, and oh, whoops, sorry, it sucks to be you. I don't like monks, so monks are going to get destroyed in this campaign. Oh, looky, you played a monk, you're fucked. uh, yeah, you got a large list of those, but when you do have an unbalanced party, usually I think if it's not Adventures League crap, usually there's usually a theme behind it. Like say you're an army, so you're going to be mostly fighters. That would make sense. But if you're doing something as shitty as Adventures League, and yes, I will bitch about that every single time. When you don't actually have people working together or understanding of how they're supposed to fit together, you start realizing, okay, we don't have a cleric. We need to buy extra health potions to compensate for that. You start looking at finding mechanics in the games to supplement that weakness. Like if you don't have a rogue who can scout around or stuff, you then start investing in maybe magical items that can unlock things or disarm traps. Or you find someone who can see things and then you just go explodey on the trap to disarm it, hopefully, and hope for the best.
There's a lot of different classes that can do a bunch of different interesting things depending upon the build. Like clerics are actually pretty flexible there. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. But if you don't have a cleric, you could have a bard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or God, I'm trying to think. Like
Well,
druids also do a lot of stuff,
well, and
but I
this
don't know if they're
is
healy.
they
They're
can. I think
not-
there's a couple spells that are healy, but here's the other thing: is if you don't have a balanced party, you can multi-class that can actually compensate for a party not being properly balanced. Again, I note this should only be done with a group of people that are your friends, not Adventurers League, because if you try to multi-class an Adventurers League that's constantly hopping around, you've essentially multi-class for one group, and that kind of screws you up in the long term. Noted warning.
I really do hope that people who are listening do heed these words. All two of you out there on YouTube, and all like 7 of you on SoundCloud.
Yes. And that's the reason why that this is something you got to start realizing with building a party, all the little balancing parts that work together. Now, if you don't have a balanced party and you're a good DM and you don't follow Adventures League's mindset BS, this is the time as a DM to really start looking on how to use those skills and talents the party has to compensate for it. For example, you don't have a cleric in the party, and no one says, like, let's say no one wants to be a cleric and heal anyone, but you got a person who has skills in medicine. There's nothing wrong with having some very basic idea of using a medicine roll to basic healing.
And now that now that you mention it, I think rangers and druids can have medicine skills.
Exactly.
If I remember it correctly.
And that's
and bards can heal.
Yep, they can, and that's the reason why. Like, if you don't have a properly those early setups that we said before of a party composition set out, how to build your party, a good DM will start looking at it. How are you using your skills and abilities to deal with situations? Let's say there's a magical trap. Arcana check, and use a couple Arcana checks on this to first you just understand this is the Arcana, this is what this type of magic, and you're going to use your knowledge of magic to trip off the trap so it doesn't just hurt anyone. Bluff can work on many different things too.
Yeah. Also, we shouldn't forget to mention about tanks. We shouldn't. The concept of a tank is, he or she is your meat shield in a way that they've got really really high defense.
Oh yeah, yeah. And biggest thing is with tanks, you're mostly going to see fighters and barbarians as your tank. Taking the damage, mainly because of hit points and the barbarian's rage to mitigate damage.
And if you don't have a proper tank, I mean, depending on what you choose, you can possibly have a cleric, but it's all in the build.
Yes.
Really.
And
if they're a little more fighty.
Well, here's one of the other things that's very important if you don't have anything properly balanced. Think on how you can support your other teammates. A support class. One of them that I did myself was a monk, and she was not the most hardiest. And once I started realizing how to work her, I started doing stunning strike on people. I couldn't destroy people. I wasn't a tank, but I was able to entangle up people and stun people for a few rounds to keep them essentially out of combat so those other people can handle the fighter, the paladin, and the sorcerers could deal with the situation. It's a lot on...
It's great support.
Yeah, support
support is incredibly important to a balanced party.
Yeah, it's the one that so many people will do forget about, and support is kind of the best I can stopgap and fix a lot of issues. Rachel, one of her games, she was playing as a bard who was support, was able to go through a whole and complete engagement. Actually, I put it on a deadly encounter levels, and was able to survive without taking a single hit point of damage.
I know, it was hilarious, and everybody else almost died.
And here's the thing. If she hadn't have done that, the team would have died because she not only kept the enemies in check, she also healed the other teammates that were on death's door several times. And this is why a balanced party or thinking your way through the situations are very important. And it's not a do or die that you'll lose and you'll never have a game or you'll never have a successful game if you don't have a balanced party, because balanced parties can actually get boring after some time. There's nothing wrong with having a mixed match party. There's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, we're having a ranger and a cleric going down into the Underdark."
It just means you need to be a lot more careful. And I would suggest that if you're going to go with a more unconventional party, that you do that at least one of you chooses the stealth route. You know, a very stealthy character like a rogue, for example, or just anybody who has the potential to take stealth, to sneak.
Well, one of the other things, it's rogue or things, or one of the other things is that the backgrounds for your characters do give you the ability to have proficiencies in stealth abilities. That is another way to actually build a balanced party if you don't have class balance, is that sometimes you just need someone who has that stealth ability to help out. So, I'll take a background of, in the past I was a scout for the military, thus I get stealth checks and sleight of hand checks and what else. Those are other ways to actually build your character up and actually make them very good in these campaigns if you don't have a properly balanced team, because that one little skill is sometimes what you really do need.
And so also that your positioning is going to be very important too. If you're more squishy, meaning you don't really have much in the way of armor, or you have low armor, like you get leather armor, or do they have cloth armor even? I don't remember.
I don't believe in the main game.
So, okay, but you have light armor and stuff like that. You're gonna want to stay closer to the back, maybe not entirely to the back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you got a little bit of substance there to the armor, maybe middle. But you're certainly not going to want to be the person who opens the door first.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it is not a good
yes. Well,
idea.
here's one of the biggest things. If you want to build your balanced party out the gate, you're going to have roughly 4 to 5 people. I can tell you this: one of your characters is going to be a cleric. One most likely is going to be a barbarian. One's most likely going to be some magic user, wizard or sorcerer, and that last one, it can be going between bard, rogue, or maybe another fighter. And that's kind of the balanced style of mechanics, and no matter which archetype you choose, these will overreach and support each other in very good ways. Again, 4 to 5 players are kind of that healthy balance for a balanced team, because you got that little extra person to go, oh, I can play this flavor.
And teamwork is incredibly important, because it doesn't matter, ultimately, if you've got a balanced party, if you folks are not working together. It has to ultimately be about you helping each other out and trying to bring the team forward through this adventure. Because otherwise, if you're doing something like, I don't know, stopping mid-campaign to go looking for a house,
yes,
it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah,
I don't know if we mentioned the real estate venture.
No, we'll do that in another episode. Though, but one of the important things is, Rachel was pointing out, teamwork. It doesn't matter how much you have the perfectly built mechanical team, you'll be screwed over if you don't work together. I've had enough games where the party was essentially being spastic. One person was swimming underwater, another person was looting the bodies, another person who was...
Really?
Yes, they were looting the bodies in mid-combat. In mid-combat, another person
Mid-combat?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, mid-combat.
Seriously. That was when they looted the body.
Yes, this is why, and essentially when I saw that, it's like, I don't know why these people are playing. It's in the middle of combat. We're going through this. We're fighting a green dragon. A motherfucking green dragon.
The best thing to do is to have conversations beforehand. I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I'm not going to try and drive things too much. But do try to discuss what you're going to do next. But you don't want to be battling, like in the middle of a huge combat encounter, and then people are, it's like herding cats. Like one person is doing this thing, another person doing that thing. One person's like, I'm going to go build some traps. Another person's like, I'm going to jump on it and stab it in the neck. Another person,
it's
like I'm running away.
Yeah, trust us, this communication with team building, actually, is actually really good to actually make you build an actually healthy and good party. Because when you actually engage and talk and actually listen to your fellow players and actually like support your fellow players, you actually have a more enjoyable time. You don't actually have TPKs as often. And it actually helps the DM make the encounters more challenging in a healthy way, not in I'm just going to put higher difficulty or more enemies. They can then have the enemies act smarter, because if you work as a team, if you were fighting a group of kobolds and a dragonborn leading them, and you immediately focus all your energy and have an epic duel to kill the leader of the kobolds, a good DM would see, oh my god, the team's working together, they're supporting each other, and they're focusing on a focal point to destroy. Wow, those rest of the guys are terrified of you. They surrender. Like, these are very important ideas with party building, because you start realizing, oh my god, we can actually do so much more working together. As cliche and saccharine as it sounds to work together, everyone, it's true. And too many times, it doesn't happen.
And if you work together, you can often find that sometimes there's a more efficient means of killing a thing than you think, or there's a way you can go around killing them, or whatever. Like who knows? Like maybe this creature is weak in the ankles, and your gnome can just start nibbling.
Here's the thing: as silly as that sounds, a good DM, hearing that teamwork of saying, hey, go at the ankles to take them down, to hurt them, a good DM would go, that's a great idea.
Him.
Yeah.
Distract him for a little while, long enough for us to fandangle a thing, and then...
Exactly. And this is the reason why building a strong party and a teamwork together is equally on the hands of the players and the DM. It goes hand in hand, because as a DM, if you see that, you should reward it. If everyone's working together, not being a dick to each other, not trying to screw over another player, or going in, I'm trying to be the hero, and shoving another hero aside to be the hero, you reward that, because, dear God in heaven, it's not rewarded in Adventurers League. You better do it this, because it will build a better community, and you will have longer and more enjoyable games.
And that's what we all want. For you guys to have really awesome games, and just be like, yeah, this is great. Just like flailing like Kermit flail.
Yeah, Kermit excitement flail, because well, that's the thing is, when you guys play these games, there's so much open to your imagination, it doesn't matter. My sister, who's never played a D&D game ever in her life, just by working together with us playing, she was able to do so many crazy and awesome things, because it's not so much on your... As much as you may build the perfect team, it's not so much of the team, of party building of the characters, but the people together. Because, trust me, when you start rodeo styling a motherfucking gigantic spider and popping off its head, just because you had an idea and everyone supported it, you're never going to forget that story for a long time.
And she grabbed the candle holder, too.
Yeah, and broke a couple legs. Yeah, as I said, this is not anything based around a thief build. But she worked as a team where everyone was surrounding it, making sure she was in prime position to do it. It's a great idea. And guess what? I just had to mention the word spider, and Rachel was laughing. Yes, I know what you're talking about. That was epic. So
yes, the spider thing.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, build together, build your team, think on how they work together, make sure they support each other, and more than everything else, support your fellow player and help each other out, because God,
help each other kick ass.
Yeah, because you'll be helping each other kick ass, and you'll have the best parties and memories to talk about. So, from all of us at the Drunken Tarrasque, thank you for joining. We will hopefully have a special guest on next week, talking about the gatekeepers of the community.
Ooh.
Thank you guys, and good night.